I am resident of Colorado for YouTube, Joel Sains. That is my buddy Patrick McCray. That is my buddy Alan Gallant. That is my buddy Daniel Culver. We are here to review the movie The Man Who Would Be King, starring Sean Connery, Michael King, Christopher Plummer is here. This was released back November 26, 1975. Was the premiere. Let's see who released. Distributed by Allied Artists of the United States and Canada, Columbia Pictures International. So there's your movie studios that were a part of this lovely, lovely movie. I had never seen this until Patrick. By the way, great recommendation by Patrick. I'll say that up front. Because this was a fun movie. I was really shocked, how this started. Because I wasn't. Here's this man sitting there, and by the way, Christopher Plummer is playing the writer who wrote the story. For those who don't know,
Rudyard Kipling.
Yep. And you see this like man who looks beat up, like walking in. I'm like, wait, who is? And you hear Michael Caine's voice, like, what happened to this dude?
Right.
And that's what draws you into the intrigue of this story. Patrick, when did you first see this, man?
I saw this probably around 1984, 1985. It was one of those movies that they showed down the street at the Vogue. And I had a friend of mine who had really good taste, and he had seen it at the Vogue because they bring it back about once a year prior. And he had it on videotape, and he just loved it. And so, I didn't like Elvis very much, so I had no interest in it. And but when it was there that summer, I thought, well, it's only $2. I'll go see it. And I was transfixed. It's one of the best movies I'd ever seen. And John Huston been trying to make it for a long time. He originally was going to make it with Franklin Pangborn and Edward Everett Horton, but that can you imagine?
That would have been a sight to see.
But that didn't get off the ground. He's gonna make it with Cary Grant and Clark Gable, and that never got off the ground. I think it was like in the 40s, and I'm glad that they waited, because I think the edge of 70s filmmaking gives them a lot of storytelling advantages and linguistic advantages that they just wouldn't have had before. They could tell it more honestly. So we already have Gunga Din. We don't need a sequel. And so that's probably what it would have become. Yeah. And so waiting for this period and waiting until they could really shoot with such incredible authenticity, which I think is one of the things that really makes the movie work. So much on location. Yeah, I mean, it reminds me, the only thing that seems as authentic is the Iraq sequence at the beginning of Exorcist. And it immediately became one of my favorite films.
Yeah. John Huston was 69 years old when he directed this movie. Good for him, and great director, by the way.
Absolutely, it's one of his last great films, if not his last great film. And it depends on who you talk to, but it's a fine film.
Yeah, the Barrymores and the Hustons are the two oldest families in Hollywood. So, Alan, when did you first see this movie?
I think I saw it on VHS sometime back in the 80s, between 80 and 85 sometime. I can't remember exactly when, but my vaguest memory is that it was a bunch of us theater brats getting together to watch it because of who was in it, and that it was a John Huston film. So that was the first impression was, okay, this is going to be a really good film, and it did not disappoint. Even on a small screen, it's still pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Daniel, when did you first see this, buddy?
I first saw it today, to be honest.
Nice.
That's right, man. Welcome to the club.
I first saw this a couple of days ago after Patrick recommended it. I sat and watched it on my computer. Really impressive by the locations. And the costume designs are really underrated on this
Wow.
movie.
Yeah.
I mean, by God, they did a great, and they don't have a ton of like effects from a makeup standpoint, but what they do have is really great. I don't, I'm not saying they couldn't have pulled it off when they originally wanted to make it, but you're right, Patrick. Like it being made in the 70s helped this movie a lot.
Yeah.
Especially with its storytelling and what it got to use from from A, being on location, B, the costume design. Let's talk about that. What did you guys think of the great costumes we got to see in this movie, Patrick?
I mean, it is this brilliant mix of exactly what goes on throughout the entire story of something that's very familiar mixed with things that are very alien to us,
Yeah.
but uh but it feels truthful the whole time, and it's beautiful. This is a movie visually. It's all about texture and texture and surfaces, and the film at times almost feels woven more than anything else. And
It is a
uh
cultural weave. I mean, there's no doubt
yeah,
about that because of the colonialism involved in it, and it's the British Empire and all that
sure,
stuff.
sure, but even just visually in its texture, it just feels it has such a tactile quality to it, and rough hewn in places, but only because they want it to be rough hewn.
Sure.
I know it's all very abstract, but I mean it. It is a movie that manages to be stark, unbelievably stark and barren, and yet rich and sumptuous and forbidding all at once. The as we approach the wedding, the soundscape adds to it,
Oh yeah.
where you have all of these sounds that you should recognize, but they all feel like they've been put together in this nightmarish manner, when they're wailing on the night before the wedding, and there's all these horrific sounds coming out of this impossibly tiny building that all of the priests have gathered into with Roxanne, and it is a movie that works in elusiveness really well. They're always alluding to their past. They're alluding to all of these other adventures, and alluding to this mythology that none of them were there for the founding of, and
Right.
so everyone's operating on weird assumptions, and the movie forces the audience into that same position.
Yeah, the alien is a good word, and there's sort of a sense of foreboding and dread in that evening before too. It's like this is really, it's dark, and uh, Daniel has decided he is going to take full advantage of his godlike status, and it's at that point that, for me anyway, the first time I saw it, I was thinking to myself, oh, this is not gonna go the way he
Oh,
thinks it's gonna go. There was just that whole sense of that, and Peachy being the voice of reason at that point in time, and of course Daniel later admits, sorry, I lost my head. Too late now.
right.
you know,
Yeah.
but it's also a great moment when he admits that, and he says, "Will you forgive me?" He says that yes, it's in my power to forgive you, and I do, and I do. And he says, "All right, then everything's all okay." And that's like that moment is that brotherhood that they share, and of course that brotherhood's alluded to because of their their association with the
The
Masonic.
Masonic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel, what did you think, man?
I would say that the costumes are definitely like one of the movie's strong points. Like Alan and Patrick said, they did really good with the costumes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I think this movie is a fun because it's so adventurous, but also too what they do really well is it's not a horror movie, but it has horror elements because of the situation they're putting themselves in constantly. They're never, ever really out of danger, ever, almost.
No, it's part of the adventure, I think, for them to be in danger, to be on the edge of the unknown.
It's almost like watching thrill seekers, almost, except for I don't think they're thrill seekers. I think they're just looking for something they want to find, which I don't. I love watching like treasure movies. So, but their quest. Sorry, good.
No, I was just gonna say, these guys occupy the lowest rung, just like sort of exists in India. These guys occupy the lowest rung of the loftiest civilization, on the planet up to that point. It could be argued, and just the constant and seething class envy and sense of powerlessness that they are born into, that they have, that their voices betray with every syllable they speak, and just the sense of they literally have nothing to lose in their mind. The only thing they have to lose is being a doorman at a hotel if life goes well.
Yes.
And so they're thrill seekers, but there is an angry desperation that they also have to disrupt these life trenches that they've been born into and that they're not going to escape from.
Right, because it's a class society. It's a very stratified class society in England at this time, and it isn't really until after World War II that's kind of exploded a bit.
Yeah.
But it's very, very strong at this point. Almost a caste society, really, in England. I mean, Daniel gives voice to it when he says, if I'm king of this place, I can go back to Her Majesty, and I can stand as an equal in front of her.
Equal, yeah. And I think it could be argued that they have, in the eyes certainly of the British Empire, they probably have more in common with the people in India than they do even with Rudyard Kipling.
Sure.
Despite the pretensions of Masonic Brotherhood, there's something condescending nonetheless about it. That it's almost like they are indulged into this rather than this is something they've earned by having the wisdom to join the Freemasons. And saying, okay, well, we'll see how that really plays out.
Right, and it does play out quite differently, I think, than they would have imagined. Although at most turns, it looks like it's really to their advantage, blah blah blah, until it's not.
Yeah. Michael Caine and Sean Connery are playing two former British soldiers, I believe.
The sergeants, ex-British soldiers. Yeah.
Yeah, they teach the natives how to shoot rifles. Which, when you're outnumbered, doesn't really come into effect much.
Well, ultimately it didn't, but
yeah. But I do like their sense of adventure and their sense of accepting, in a sense of their own sort of the situation they've put themselves in. Because Connery says to Kane's character, "I'm sorry for getting you killed," and he goes, "Okay," like he's ready. In many ways, this movie feels like The Wild Bunch in a lot of ways.
They have a sort of an upright courage about the whole thing, because they always know in the back of their mind this is a possibility with this kind of great adventure. It's a very mercenary adventure. They're taking their 20 rifles. They're making this plan to defeat tribe after tribe and consolidate their power. And so with any great ambition like that, there's the possibility of a great fall.
Yeah,
that's true.
One of my favorite things about this movie too is I'm a sucker for good camels. Especially the movie. What did you guys think of all the cool animals we got to see in this movie?
Tons of mules, and camels, and stuff.
Scorpions.
Oh
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty cool.
John Huston was well known for placing his actors in environments harsher and harsher and harsher. Did it with the Treasure of the Sierra Madre. He did it with a number of other films where the actors are in these challenging environments.
Yeah. Great movie, by the way, if anybody's never seen it. whoever watches this episode, Treasure of the Sierra Madre is a great movie as well. John Huston, yeah, Alan's right. Put his actors in tough situations, but that was
Not
a part
just
of
his actors.
Yeah,
He would do it to he'd do it to his writers.
Put it himself. He
He'd do it to
would.
his, oh yeah, he was a supreme masochist. And boxer as well, among everything else. There's a book, Jewel, I will recommend that is just fantastic, and it's one of the best insights on Houston you're ever going to get. It's a book called Green Shadows, White Whale, and it's one of the last books written by Ray Bradbury, and it's Bradbury's only very thinly semi-fictionalized version of what happened when Houston dragged him to Ireland to write Moby Dick, the movie. And you know, this is at a time when that's a huge trip. You know, there was no FaceTime, there's none of that, and then proceeded to torture Bradbury with all sorts of bizarre manhood tests. And
he did that to people he loved. He did it to almost.
Well, that's certainly
everybody.
what he claimed.
Well, he was being a masochist. He was also a sadist.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And I don't think Bradbury really appreciated it very much.
There. Yeah. And now if he had Harlan Ellison, Ellison would have appreciated it. He would have gotten fist fights with him every day. You know, I mean, he was kind
it's really
of
hard to tell. I think Ellison only would have put up with it up to a point.
Yeah.
And that would have been it. Especially when Houston would hit back.
Caught the next bus. You know?
Yeah. He's going to go back and write another, Man from U.N.C.L.E. or Flying Nun episode to try and get a date with Sally Field.
Right.
I like how they meet Christopher Plummer's character in this movie too, because they're telling him what they're gonna do, and then they say who they are going to claim to be. He goes, "No, I'm that guy. What do you want?
I'm the correspondent of the Northern Star." Right.
Yes.
As they're going away on the train away from him, and then when he catches up with them, it's all a good laugh. It's a good fun. A very young, seemingly young Christopher Plummer here.
Oh yes, he looks extremely young in this movie. In 1975, he was still in his early middle age. Yeah. So he didn't have a line on his face. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, maybe he had a few around the mouth, but that would have been covered with a mustache. But and he looked great. I thought they did a great job making him look like, without altering his recognizability to make him look like Kipling.
Is this one of Connery's, you think, top 3 non-Bond films?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's really a fantastic film, and it was also sort of the catalyst for a lifelong friendship with Kane too. The two of them remained friends for life. And doing this movie was an adventure, as we've mentioned before, because of Houston's ethos of immersion, so to speak. Yeah.
Michael Caine has always been a treat to watch. I mean, I remember watching Alfie on Turner Classic Movies.
Great film. Great. That was a breakout film for him. International breakout. So yeah.
They're truly the Burt Reynolds and Jerry Reed of England.
That's right. Instead of eastbound and down,
that's right, literally
down.
Literally. You could fuse these two movies, and I'm sure AI will in about 5 years at our behest, and get something astounding. You have Jackie Gleason pursuing them
across the mountainous.
That's right. You get the gold eagle painted on Jenny.
Yeah.
For the Trans Am.
Yeah. Oh my God.
They got Coors beer strapped to the.
Yes.
That's what's in Segunda's vault. Right. It's just a bunch of Coors beer.
Oh my God! Yeah.
And Paul Williams and Pat? What's his name? Is
Pat McCormick.
Pat McCormick.
Yeah.
Really. Speaking of harsh weather, they went through snowy mountains, which anytime I see snow in the film, I enjoy it too.
You like snow and camels.
I
Yeah.
know.
We can write a whole OK Cupid profile for you with this.
That's right. No problem.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Don't
I'm
say
sure
that too
Julie.
loudly. Your wife is right over there.
I'm sure Julie won't know. No, she won't too. Honey, why is there this profile? Somebody wrote it, I'm sure. I won't name drop you. I can keep a secret. Anyway. What did you guys, because I know, Patrick, you'd seen this when it came out, but, or.
Well, no.
What,
No, I was 4 when this came out, but I saw it about 10 years after it came out.
10 years after. What did you guys think of the snow sequences in this movie we got?
I'll be honest, it's one of the weaker special effects in the movie. It's what they had at the time, but it's very clearly, in many places, an animated,
It's like an overlay.
Yeah, overlay. I mean, it's okay, but whenever you see this and the actors seem to be on another plane from it, not affected by
No,
it.
it's 1975.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
Just
now,
a couple of years later, that you get
the
like,
location snow stuff as they're moving through it and all of
Yeah.
that. That's different.
Yeah. I think it works well with this movie. It looks, to me, it looks good. And it looks like I think Connery, the way Connery and Kane play it off, sell it really well.
it's also a great practical way to show the passage of time and space.
Oh yeah.
And it's a tribute. It's a tribute to an artist who gets a very small credit at the end of the movie with this. I don't think he's in the beginning of the movie, but that's Albert Whitlock, who was the greatest matte painter ever and special effects artist. And so and he's so realistic, and the matte work is so good in this that you're just immediately carried into a very realistic fairy tale land where the issue of when does reality begin and fantasy end and vice versa is irrelevant.
Right.
You're just completely sucked into it and you buy it.
Yeah.
This is a movie that's not realistic, but it's true.
Yeah. What I love about this movie, it looks like John Huston got everything he wanted out of this.
I think he did.
Oh, absolutely. Checked all of the John Huston boxes in terms of what he was known for excellent storytelling, for rich characters, for great locations, all of that stuff got checked off.
It makes me glad that the original cast of Ken Berry and Bob Denver fell through, and that they were able to get these guys.
That's right.
Bill, I'm pulling your chain. If only.
Now, in all seriousness, if they would have made this movie in the 30s, you knew who I would have cast in Michael Caine's part?
Dwight Fry.
No, I would have cast John Huston's father.
Walter.
Yeah.
Walter Huston, yeah.
Yep. He would have nailed that role.
I would have cast W.C. Fields and Margaret Dumont as the pair.
Mae West as the bride.
Oh, that's Billy Fish. She's Billy Fish.
Oh yes, Billy Fish.
Yeah.
Oh, I speak their language. Ooh. And she was like throwing her hips out. I guess
now I'm imagining Billy Fish doing a Mae West impression, and I'll never get that out of my mind.
What's interesting is that the book came out in I think 1888, so a silent version of this film was technically possible.
Oh yeah, a silent version of this would have been great.
Yeah. Would have been about 22 reeler.
Sure. Get Abel Gantz to make it.
Yeah. It's been so big that the nitrate film would have burned down every theater that it was shown in.
Well, but think about the scale of something like Intolerance.
Oh, incredible stuff.
Yeah, applied to this.
Incredible stuff.
Wow.
I believe there is a silent version of Ben-Hur, I think.
Oh yeah.
There is.
Francis X.
Absolutely. And it's also an extravaganza. It's a visual extravaganza.
Yep. So Charlton Heston's Ben-Hur is a remake. So it
is.
Yeah.
Well, just like Ten
you know-
Commandments is a remake of a silent classic.
Yeah, it is.
Earlier possibilities. Michael Caine was really convinced to play Peachy because at one point that role was going to be given to Humphrey Bogart.
Ooh.
Oh, that's
Oh.
right. It wasn't Cary Grant. It was Humphrey Bogart and Clark Gable.
And he was an absolute fanboy of Humphrey Bogart from a young age. Came up watching those movies in the 40s as a kid. So he was like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
To work with a director who worked with Humphrey Bogart, the whole 9 yards. So I think it was an easy sell once that was.
Favorite? Yeah. Sorry if I interrupted you.
Yeah.
Favorite non-Sean Connery Bond movie?
I don't know, to be honest.
This is an incredible one. I will say that it's probably a tie between this one and Outlander. I really loved Outlander. I loved seeing him in a sort of a flawed but yet at the same time intrepid role that he played in Outlander. It's not.
You mean Outlander?
That's an atypical list choice, but it's I really like his performance in Outlander. So
Outlander, yeah. Patrick?
It's a movie I've wanted us to watch and talk about at some point. It's called Wrong is Right. And it's a very unusual Sean Connery. It's a very if you liked The Stuntman, you'll love Wrong is Right.
Oh, okay.
It is an early 80s, late 70s cynical paranoia comedy that's just political as hell, very funny, difficult to watch in places. It reminds me a lot of Deal of the Century with the fantastic Gregory Hines and Chevy Chase, who puts in a relatively selfless performance in that movie. A William Friedkin film, in fact. But Wrong is Right is not a William Friedkin film. Really dark, interesting movie.
Yeah. Outland, I own it digitally.
Right.
It's okay. It has a tie-in and connection to the Alien universe.
It does.
Which when you watch that movie, you really understand how Wayland Yutani got away with the whole alien stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because just people want to meet their quota and do their jobs in outer space. But yeah, great movie. And no, I will not put The Rock on the list because The Rock is a Bond film.
Oh, we're not. It's Sean Connery made a lot of movies.
He did.
We don't have to put The Rock.
He made some pretty good ones too. I mean, you could talk about his role as a supporting actor in, or as maybe an equal among equals in The Untouchables too.
Oh my God, he won the Oscar for that.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
Yeah.
Why not that?
Darby O'Gill.
Favorite Michael Caine movie?
A Shock to the System.
Never seen it.
It's God damn it, it's good.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I like that one. I also like. I like some of his more. I like the sort of British cultural immersion type films, like Alfie, like Get Carter and the Ipcress Files and all that kind of
The
genre
$1 billion
stuff
Brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the Harry Palmer.
Yeah. I just enjoy I like the first decade of his work. I just like it because it's so soaked in the 60s and early 70s. I just like it, love it for that. And he's very good in all those films.
There's a movie a Michael Caine movie we covered here. It was a Sherlock Holmes movie without a clue.
It was funny.
It was really
I like
funny and good.
I knew it was good when it really irritated some Sherlock Holmes purists that I know. They don't like to see Holmes made fun of, and I said, this has got to be a great film.
I think it celebrates Holmes.
It does.
Watson so joyously embodies all that's best in the Holmes character, and yet
Right.
humanizes it at the same time.
Right. It does, and I agree with that. But unfortunately, some Holmesians are rather stiff about.
They are. I mean, I like to troll them with my appreciation of Holmes and Watson,
Yes.
with John C. Reilly,
Yeah.
and Will Ferrell, which is a movie I had a lot of fun at.
Yes.
I had no problem with that. It
No.
was, exactly the lighthearted entertainment one
And I
wants
like
on Christmas Day.
the one that really gets them under the skin is Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
That because
Well,
that's more of the straight adventure kind of stuff. But I mean, there's a lot of humor in that too, and there's a lot of winks and nods in that too. So
yeah.
And I like it for the fact that those two guys have great chemistry together in that
Yeah,
film.
they do.
Yeah. You know what I found on Amazon that I'm going to order here soon, right? I know what I found.
Is it some sort of medical device that you'll use
No,
for non-medical
Pleasure
reasons?
devices.
It's the poster for the stunt man.
Oh,
that's
excellent.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah, nice too. What scale 1 to 10 will you guys give this movie?
Oh, the numbers don't even apply. Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Favorite character, guys? Daniel.
Well, my
Are you
favorite character is
naming a
Peachy.
favorite character, or are you asking for Daniel Culver?
Yeah, I'm asking Daniel what's his
Okay.
favorite character. Who's his favorite character?
Oh, Peachy's my favorite character.
Nice. Alan?
Yeah, Peachy. The arc that Peachy takes. I really like Daniel as well, and I really love Billy Fish, but Peachy is tops.
Patrick?
Yeah, Peachy.
Yeah. I'm going to go all the cool locations we got for the characters in the story.
They are characters, no doubt.
Yeah, they help bring the story to life along with the actors that were in this movie.
Right.
Favorite scene? I know this one's going to be hard.
Oh, I'm gonna go when Daniel was crowned.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of the culmination of the upward trajectory.
It's also, oh, good.
Yeah, and then that's probably it for me. Other than, I mean, I like any of the exchanges that Daniel and Peachy have that show that they have a love for each other beyond the sort of jolly good sort of British con man thing that they're sort of showing everybody else at that point. So, but that scene is really the epitome of the upward trajectory of the film. It is obviously it's what the title is all about. Everything leading up to that, but not the eventual outcome. It's the top of the mountain, and then we're going to start coming down the other way.
Yeah. Patrick?
Well, I'm a low and vulgar man of questionable and brusque tastes. So it's right towards the beginning of the movie where he frames the watermelon eating man.
Oh, that's funny.
Who introduces himself from the university that he failed to get into.
Right.
Which just shows us what a tough society this is, that even that's a bragging right.
Yeah.
He frames him for stealing the watch. That's just such a great moment of scammery. And Houston gets away with it by having the watermelon guy, probably spitting on Peachy's shoes.
That's right.
Without meaning to. And that just kind of, that moment of needless vulgarity completely justifies in a lot of ways throwing him off the train. And
thank you, sir.
that moment, it's God, I love that. It just makes me laugh. I love that moment. And I love the patter that they have shortly thereafter when they're dealing with the British bureaucrat.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about the state of life that they're dealing with, but it's in this very practiced rhythmic delivery that's just you know, everybody wants to be one half of that kind of team
Right.
at that moment.
Mhm.
Just the, I know it's not a scene, but just the chemistry between Connery and Kane is just so entertaining to watch throughout this whole movie. Because Christopher Plummer isn't into the whole lot. I know his character, you're hearing the story through his character, but it's Connery and Kane the whole way. And one of my favorite scenes is when they're walking through that pass and they're making fun of the British soldiers. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, they
When
get the guy
when
arrested.
he's shouting orders to the guy and he doesn't see where it's coming from, but he's obeying.
Yeah. It's like you gotta laugh. It's like for all the action in this movie, there's just great comedy, which is fun.
It is. It's a very funny movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like how Michael Caine ends the story because he talks. He says, "You want to know what they did with Peachy? They crucified him in between two trees, and you see the marks on his hands and stuff. Great effect, by the way. Great job by the effect department."
That's one of my favorite makeup jobs in any movie because you fully understand why it takes a while for Kipling to really realize who this is.
Yeah.
And it's an elusive makeup. It's not elusive, it's elusive. It's an elusive makeup job, just making us wonder what degree of hell has this man gone through just to get back. It looks like he was burned.
Lost
you know,
a piece of an eye, the whole
he's aged impossibly.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Jewel? I wanted you to ask me a specific question about the author of the story this is derived from. Do you remember that question?
I don't. I know Michael.
That's too bad.
Sorry.
So I'll ask it of Alan. Alan, do you like Kipling?
Do I like Kipling?
There's a very specific answer to this.
Okay.
You should know it. Ask me.
Patrick, do you like Kipling?
I don't know. I've never kippled.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
That was the top-selling novelty card for a long time.
Kipple.
Yeah, that was the top-selling novelty card for years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Good. Let's see. Now, Saturday I have Night of the Creeps with Butch.
Thrill me.
Yeah. Friday, because I know you guys got a hurricane coming in. I don't know if you guys will be able to do anything tomorrow. Probably not. So how's Friday looking, guys?
Hopefully
Friday. What do you want to look at?
Let's get the suffering over with and do the 2012 Dark Shadows movie.
Oh, is that on any streaming service?
I don't know. I'll try to.
I think it is.
No.
I'm not sure. It might be on Tubi, actually. I'm not positive.
Oh, it might not be, but
it
probably,
might not be
It's
either.
definitely on Netflix because it often shows up as one of Netflix's top 10 watched movies.
Yeah.
To this day.
I think it's a different generation that's glommed on.
Oh, it definitely is. Which, boy, that makes you feel old.
Also makes you feel hopeful that some of them are actually going back and looking at the original. So, you know,
I'll send it to you guys. It's free on YouTube.
it's on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah, I'll send it to you guys.
Okay, fabulous.
I own it on DVD, so I'll bring my DVD.
I have it on DVD as well. So you don't need to address me, but yeah, and I also have it on my phone. I have it on file on my phone because I actually do enjoy watching it once in a while for the environments in it. I really love the environments in it, which I do with most Tim Burton movies, even the ones I'm not 100% behind, of which this is one. But and I do enjoy a couple of the performances in it, so I can pick and choose.
The set designs are nice.
Oh, and the costumes, fabulous.
Yeah. So Friday night we'll do 2012's Tim Burton's Dark Shadows. My apologies in advance.
No problem.
Is there anything you guys want to add before we get on out of here?
No, Alan, I want to talk strategy with you about this when we're done.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. No problem.
Links to Patrick McRae's Dark Shadows Daybook come down will be in the description box. Link to Alan Gallant's YouTube channel. Colin's Port After Dark will be in the description box. Link to Daniel Culver's YouTube channel. Killenberg will be in the description box. I'll see you guys Friday night. Take care and God bless.
Sniff wisely.
Bye.